Hey guys, and welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer board game review. And in today's game, we have Mezen by Hobby World and Arcane Wonders. This is a 1 to 5 player game that takes 30 minutes to play and is for ages 12 and up. And in the game, you are playing as Northern Craftsmen, and you're creating ornamental paintings to order. And in fact, there are 10 orders in the game and 10 rounds. You will basically be getting your own set of icons in a 5x5 grid, which you will be moving kind of like a Tetris piece, falling or taking them off, pieces will fall down and putting them back onto the board that you have, trying to accomplish the objectives. It might be that you need a certain symbol in a certain location, or a certain color of symbols, or the tiles that you have in certain areas, a 3x3 grid of blacks or whites, or maybe you need a certain number of fish on the outside borders. It'll be based on the rounds. You'll be focusing not only the round objectives, but how many of the tiles that you can turn before round 5 to black, and then 10 to white again, as well as utilizing these little tokens. It will allow you to gather groups of these specific symbols that are chosen, and if you don't have a full group of them, maybe they're separate by a certain piece, you can use these to kind of connect them or bridge them to give yourself more variety in taking and flipping and hopefully earning more points from round to round. After the game plays through 10 rounds, the game is going to come to an end and you will score points for every single tile of a specific type, and of course the objective, as well as how many little extra tokens that you haven't utilized at the end of the game, and a few other little scoring bits here and there, and whoever has the most points is the winner. It's a pretty simple game. I'll explain the setup, explain the basic idea of how to play, and then of course we'll come for my review. Setting up the game, Mezen is quite simple, and the way it works is you take the main game board out and place it within reach in the middle of the table for all players. Then each player is going to get a set of tiles. Each tile has a shape, and corresponding to that shape will be a victory point marker, which you will place on 0, along with the 50-point marker, which you can place next to the game board or next to yourself to indicate when you get all the way around the game board, you'll go ahead and take that token or flip it when you get to 100. You're also going to need objective tiles. You'll need 10 of them, and there's a deck of these tiles here, with on the bottom representing the different types of tiles. You choose one of the specific symbols. I chose sun. Take all of those out, and then randomly select 2 and discard them. So I selected the sun, I got rid of these 2, and I left 10 on the game board. Flip over the first 2 from left to right, top to bottom. Then, after that, you'll take these little square markers and place them on the right-hand side of the game board. Give somebody the first player marker, and I chose myself here, so I'll place it over here. And then each player should get a set of tiles. I have a 5x5 grid of these circular tiles, and they should always be on the white side for me. And then for Callie, we have these square tiles, another 5x5 grid. They're randomly dealt out and distributed, so you might have different animals in different locations or mixed up and mashed up, doesn't matter. Just go ahead and place them down, and that'll be your starting board. Each player is also going to get a number of these square tokens, which you'll use throughout the game and possibly can gain more of. And then if you're playing with any other players, you'll simply add them into the game by giving them a set of these tiles. If you're not playing with them, simply set them aside, and then after you have your grid and your tokens and a first player, you're ready to go. Mezen is a puzzler. It's a tile-based strategy game, similar to our game, Moonshell. This game is pretty simple. The first player is going to start off by naming one of these symbols on their grid. You can name a porcupine, a fox, a chicken, or a horse, or a fish. It's really up to you. Once you've named that specific symbol, players are going to group up those symbols, and they can choose to take them off of their game board, thusly flipping them over to their opposite side. If you have white, you flip to black, and black to white, and then you'll drop all your tiles like Tetris. Pull the entire bottom row, make sure that the 4x5 on top all fall down, and then you'll place those tiles on the top portion of the rows. So you'll select any combination of attached tiles. If you have a spruces attached, you must take that one as well. Spruces are kind of like wilds, and when you take one of them, they're also going to be flipped just like any other. And when you gain a spruce, when you place them down, it'll function the same way. It'll count as any tiles that are attached to it. So for instance, if I choose fish as the first player, I obviously have 2 fish on one side of my board, one over here, one over here. I'll select the one that, oh, actually this one has 3. I'll select these 3 fish. You'll take these 3 fish, and then your board is going to drop. You'll take all your tokens and you'll slide them all down just like you would a Tetris board, flip over your fish, And then you'll look at them and decide how you want to place them. I have one of these trees, I have a fox and a horse. So I'll drop the fox near the fox, I'll drop the horse near the horse, and I will drop the spruce down in the corner. And now I've got my 5x5 grid again. Each player is also able to do the same thing, but they have to use what you called. So they'll look at their fish, they'll make groups of their fish, one group. A group can be one as well. They'll take those off and follow suit. There are a few different things you can change about this game. And one thing is, if you do not like the symbol that I chose, or the player who chose, that was the first player, then you can go ahead and give them one of your square tokens and choose a new symbol. Ooh, I've got 4 horses. I don't want to use the fish because I only have a set of 2. I'm going to give Michael one of my little tokens here, and I'm going to change it just for myself into horses. So now Callie over here can choose horses. Everyone else still has to do fish though, unless they give me one of their tokens. The other thing that you can do with your tokens, as opposed to giving them to me, is you can actually place them on your grid. You can say, okay, you chose fish, and I only have 2 fish here, but I would actually like to have 3. I can take this token and place it on any one of my tiles here, and turn that tile into a temporary wild tile, allowing you to connect fish to fish, or horses to horses. The only thing is that you cannot take the tile that was wild. You may only take the connected tiles adjacent, and adjacent is up, down, left, or right. I have 2 fish on the right and a fish on top connected by this little wild symbol. I'll take those fish, then I will drop the game board down. I will flip the fish over, discard the wild token, and then I can place these following the same rules of flipping them to their black sides. Once everybody does this, then you're going to score for the round. And the way that works is you'll look at the first card. Now, as you can tell, there are 2 cards that are revealed. So one is the round that we're on, and one is the next round. So you can prepare your board during this round for the next one, as well as to score for this round. This card here will say a certain rule. Maybe it'll say like, you get 3 points for every same symbol that's next to a spruce. And it's like, okay, I have a spruce here, and there are 4 of a very specific type of symbol that's adjacent to it. I'm going to get 3 points for each. Maybe there are 3 horses. I'll get 9 points. Everyone else will do the same. And then you can either put this card back face down or just discard it. Then you'll flip over the next objective card, and you will then proceed by passing the first player marker on to the next player. And that is it. That's how the game works. You'll also, when you score, mark it down. So if let's say that I got 2 connected pieces, I would score 6 points. I would take my circular marker here and move it up 6 on the victory track. And let's say that they had 3, which is 9 points. They would take their square marker and move it up 9 points. So from round to round, you will score in this game up to 10 times every single round. You're going to score, hopefully. And just before we get to the next round with this player, the other thing is that if you don't score enough or don't feel like you've scored enough, you can instead choose to not score. And if you don't score, you can simply take 2 of these markers here and add them to your pool. At the end of the game, they'll be worth 1 point apiece, and they're also used for connecting specific symbols with symbols on your game board, as well as passing them to the first player to switch up what type of symbol you'd like to connect, as opposed to the one that they said. Now you have this new symbol flipped over by the next player, and once again you are scoring the one that is currently in the closest top left area, but you'll have a setup for the next round to see what you need in order to kind of prepare for that round. And play will continue. They'll choose a symbol, they will connect theirs in bunches, everybody else will do theirs as well. You will score, discard this, flip over the new one of these guys here, and then pass your first player marker. After that, eventually you're going to get to the 5th round. When you start scoring on the 5th round, what's going to happen is, after this is done, you'll score in the same traditional way, but you're also going to score for every tile that is face down on your board, basically the black side. The black side of tiles will have a different symbol most likely, and they're going to have obviously a different color, and the color is what matters. I have 7 black tiles on my board. I'll score 7 more points, in addition to the victory condition. Once you get to the 10th round of the game, this is the last and final round of the game, you are going to score the same way you normally would, but there's also some bonus scoring that's going to take place. You'll score 1 point for every one of these square tokens that you still have that you haven't utilized. You will score 1 point for every white tile on your board now, so the opposite. So you try and flip them over to get as many black as you can, and then flip them back by the 10th round to get as many of the white that you can. You will also score for connected tiles. Now, normally with spruces, you don't actually count them for things that you can take or whatever, but in this case, you'll score. If you have 4 foxes, a spruce, and 2 more foxes, you'll actually score the 4, the 2, and the spruce itself. And I believe there's some other victory conditions that you can check in this little book here. It's a handy dandy tool that explains everything, and it's a really well done rule block. Let me go ahead and look here. It's a point for every light side, a point for every amulet, those are the square tokens, and one for every tile of the chosen group on the painting, including the spruce tiles. And you can choose whatever group you want. It depends on whatever group you have the most of in a connection. And the connection has to be up, down, left, right, not diagonal. And then there you go, that's the game. At the end of the game, you'll be checking your score. If you ever go past 50, you will take that scoring marker and mark it that you have 50. So if you have 50 marker there and a 5, that's 55 points. And whoever has the most points is the winner of the game, Mezen. Hopefully that explains it pretty well. I think I explained everything. Yeah, pretty simple game. Mezen is a light, abstract, puzzle-moving strategy game. You're going to be basically choosing groups of certain symbols, moving them off of your game board, dropping your board down like a Tetris board, and placing the new pieces anywhere you want in the leftover spaces on the top of your board, which will slowly change your board's combinations as well as the coloration of your board. Your objective is to score as many points as you can for every objective while paying attention to the next objective to try and score as many points for that one as well. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of objectives that are going to remain hidden throughout the game that you won't know about, but you will have a clue about the 5th and 10th rounds, being that you need to have a certain number of black and white tiles flipped over during those times. So you'll have to kind of decide, do I want to pool a lot of my flips to turn my whites into blacks while scoring as much as I can, or leave some of my whites up to score for my objectives before I have to flip? Utilizing your tokens here, these little guys here are going to be very important. It's a way in order for you to flip additional tiles, to choose a different symbol type, to get as many points as you possibly can. The one thing about this game is that there's typically a best move for each of the scenarios. You will know what your board looks like, what your objective is, and if you have a very strong memory, you're going to have an idea of like, this is probably the best way I can make it. And there's like slight variations on that. But typically speaking, if you've got 4 porcupines all grouped up together, or 5, you know that you need to pick porcupine. And if the player picks fish to your left and they're the starting player, and you have 1 fish as a group, and that's all the fish are basically spread out, you probably don't want to pick fish, even if you can use your markers here, because these are victory points in and of themselves, and you might need them later for better rounds that will score you more points. So you'll just give them, maybe you'll just give them 1 of them and turn it into porcupines. And then you can take all of these pieces here and flip them and orientate them how you want. Because remember, when you take them off of your board, yes, pieces will fall and you'll have to kind of concentrate on where those go and how you want to kind of bunch them up. And sometimes it might not be worth it to take a certain one by adding a tile down, because you'll need that specific symbol for the upcoming victory condition. But typically speaking, you'll know what it is that you want to do, what you want to grab, how you want to do it. And for some people, that might be a little less thinking than they would like. It's one of those games where your board has restrictions placed on it before you begin, because it's randomized. So you don't know what your board state will be like, and it's going to be different than another player's. Thusly, you might have a random scoring at the beginning of the game, and you have to make up for it as you progress throughout the game. So those are my 2 main qualms with the game. Is it sometimes feels like it's kind of playing itself. It feels like sometimes my best option is my own, like this is my only option here. It's what I must pick, and if I take anything else, I'm going to get hurt here. Now, maybe I need to play even more. I've played about 4 or 5 games of this, so you can take that into consideration. But there is usually a best move that I feel is up for consideration, as well as memorizing what is on the back of each of the tiles that you flip. You don't know what they are originally, but when you flip them, you'll know this porcupine turns into a horse, and then this horse here might be in the middle of the board sometime later or falls down. I might need this to flip over back to a porcupine, and remembering that will be important. And I suck at memory games. This has got some memory in it, a decent chunk of it, because you have to memorize your tiles as you place them and as you pull them, which is challenging for me. Okay, thematically. Thematically speaking, this game is great. It feels very Christmassy. It is a puzzler. It is an abstract game. And you have this little painting here that you're kind of constructing, that you're changing as the different customers request different things for the symbols on your painting. It works actually quite well. I love the thematic elements. I love the coloration. Love the graphic design and its simplicity. Each of the cards here, while might be complicated at first or confusing, luckily has a wonderful little goal cards appendage at the appendix at the back of the book that illustrates what each of them do, what the symbols mean, how you score points with them. It's also a good way of mixing the game up by having each of the cards have two different symbols. So you can select sun, you'll get all the sun cards, or you can select something like the snowflake, in which case you might only have 2 snowflakes here and you have to pull in from the rest of the deck. So each game variation plays differently, and you're never going to have more than 1 or 2 of the same type of symbol combination lineup. So it's always going to be a little bit unique. There's always a variety of combinations. Like, as another example for the game Moonshell, right? There are 2 separate types of decks, and you can play either one, but if you mix them up, it's possible. You might get something like 3 whites here, 3 whites there, and 4 whites there, and it just feels kind of bland. This doesn't do that. It stays away from that. You can choose any objective that you'd like, which is what I also say about our game, but it's not recommended, and it doesn't play for a very fun play sample. This is a much better way of doing it. Scoring feels good in this game. It feels exciting, exhilarating, as sometimes you might start off with a bad start and you can push ahead. Scoring was fairly 10, 15 points separation. When I was doing poorly kind of at the end game, I knew I wasn't going to win even at the last 2 rounds, and I was right. And that happened multiple times. However, it is swingy as well. You don't know what your next objectives are going to be, and so when it flips over and you happen to have a bunch of horses in play that are in the spots needed to be for that objective, you might just get lucky and pull right ahead. So even if you're not great at the game, there's a possibility for you to come back. It's not like if you're not good at memory and abstract puzzlers, you'll have no chance whatsoever. There are certain situations where you'll be able to pull yourself ahead, but strategy does make a difference in this game. Utilizing your memory, placement skills, and the ability to kind of incorporate where pieces need to go for this round and next round will be of great importance as well. This is a strategy abstract puzzler in its namesake. It plays just like one, and its unique mechanics are in the fact that the game uses kind of this pull and place method with separation between the tiles and their coloration, and the unique objectives that are found throughout the game as you move along, while maintaining the fact that you'll need to have groups set up throughout the game. The thematic element is wonderful. It's a great Christmassy style theme. You're playing as this cool northern artisan, this craftsman that makes you feel like you are connecting and creating new paintings each and every time. And the quality of the game is just excellent. They even went to the details of making this large first player or new player little reindeer here to illustrate who's going to be picking the next symbol next. And I love that. This is a game that's definitely going to be for a lot of people that enjoy these type of puzzlers and abstract games. I just had the small qualms, and they kind of stuck with me to make this game kind of on the mid-section for me with puzzlers. I'm also a big puzzler myself, so it didn't really like sit super high on my tier for abstract strategy tile games. So I'd say it's right down the middle for me. And I think for the most part, that's probably what you'll see as well. That'd be my guess. But if I'm wrong, you can let me know down below in the comments. Tell me what you liked about this game, what you didn't like about this game. Have you played this game? It's definitely not a game I would say do not play whatsoever. It's a game that if you're looking for a tile abstract strategy type of placement game with a cool Christmassy theme, then you're going to be in for it. But if you don't like the randomization of the tiles and the memorization aspect, it's probably one for a pass. Thank you guys for watching another Unfiltered Gamer board game review for the game Mezen. If you're interested in picking this game up, there will be a link down below in the description where you can go ahead and pick it up. Hopefully I didn't give you too negative of a kind of review for you guys here. It just didn't fit my specific kind of criteria for puzzlers. I am a little bit more heavy on what puzzlers I like. Definitely is going to have an audience, and I see this game doing very well at Christmas time. So I'm really curious to see. I'm going to probably go online at some point and just check out what other people think about this game to see how wrong or right I might be. You can also go ahead and check out our live streams we do every Sunday. Now that I'm not sick anymore and the baby is a little bit older, it'll be a lot easier. So Sunday at 6:30 p.m. PST on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. As well as, of course, the website unfilteredgame.com, blog posts, giveaways, Kickstarter lists, and more. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, bell notification button. We do greatly appreciate it. And we look forward to crafting some beautiful works of art in Mezen with you next time. Merry late Christmas.